Mr. Gruss, how did you end up in the Army?
I graduated from high school. I was 18 years old. I was conscripted to go in the Army. I went at Fort Snelling, Minnesota, and sent to Camp Roberts, California. We trained infantry basic training there. Our cadre had been combat experienced. It was very difficult training. They would send us out in the desert carrying our heavy machine guns and heavy 81 millimeter mortars. It was over 100 degrees in temperature. We had water discipline. We had to pour out half a canteen of water when we returned at night. There was always several ambulances behind coming in because the fellows keep dropping down from dehydration. I can remember standing just before they would let us release us, hear a rifle drop and a fellow drop over. We would go into the barracks, turn the showers on, and open our mouths and try to get water. It was very difficult. One day in the desert, I looked up and there were 5 or 6 P-40s that flew over about 300 feet. The pilots was looking down at us, and I looked up at the pilots and I said, "Why am I here and he's there?" Shortly after that, an order came down that if you could qualify, you could apply to the aviation cadets. I applied, 3 of us out of about 175 members qualified. And we went on, 2 of us went on to the aviation cadets in Denver and Kansas. One buddy came down with a viral infection, and he was sent off with our other fellows we trained with. And during training, our cadre lined us up one day, and they had us sit down. They said, "Turn your heads to the right and look at your buddy. Now turn your heads to the left and look at your buddy." And they said, "One of you will not come home." My buddy, who had the viral infection, was sent to New Guinea. When I came home from furlough, about a year later, I called his mother to see how he was. He said he's home. He was on crutches, very badly shot up. And he said, "The fellows we trained with got wiped out." So we did lose probably half of the buddies that I trained with originally.
What are your strongest or most memorable experiences from the war?
I think there may have been 2. Once was in training in California under live ammunition. We were on a slope of a small hill with our 81 set up, and we were shooting at a high ridge across a quarter of a mile away. It dropped down from our position to a dry riverbed. And one night, when we were having supper, sea rations, I was chewing and couldn't understand why I couldn't chew it. And I took out of my mouth, and they had diced the hide, the hair, and the meat. And it was very uncomfortable. And right after that, I heard a very loud explosion. And I told my buddies, I said, "That shell is too close." We went up top of the hill, we looked down, and here a 105 artillery shell landed right down in the middle of a company in the dry creek bed. And those guys were crawling up the hill, trying to get out. A number of guys got killed there. I went down, and there was body parts all over, and it was really made me sobered up as a young man. I have always been blessed all my life. At Siegburg, our battalion was in reserve. And we had to go across the Sieg River and 400 or 500 miles over to a monastery. And I was blessed being in reserve. We fired our 81 mortars till the bottom third or quarter of the barrel got red hot, one shell after another. About supper time that night, we went down to where they went across, and there were many, many bodies laying on the ground, all bloody. There were jeeps with 4 people on at a time, so we lost a lot of men there, and that was really, really trying, I think. It was very difficult.
When and how did the war end for you?
The war ended in the Czech Republic near Tepla. It was a monastery. And shortly after that, they sent us to Bamberg. And we had the final riots for our buddies we lost here. And they sent us back home on a month's vacation furlough, rather, excuse me. And then they sent us off to Pacific because when we came home, the war was still on. However, we were in North Carolina. They announced that the Japanese surrendered, but we were in the pipeline that we were going over to occupy Japan. I woke up one morning in the Ainuitak Atoll, as far as you could see, 12 miles in every direction were ships. I didn't comprehend there's that many ships in the world. Afterwards, pilots told me, he said, you only saw part of it. We had amphibious training. We would have been the first divisions to go into that shore. Over 1 million of us would have died, and over 1 million Japanese would have died. So we thank Harry Truman for dropping the 2 atomic bombs.
When did you first return to Pilsen after the war?
Some of the highest spots in my life was the 50th anniversary to come back here. I have traveled in probably 14 or 15 countries. There isn't any more wonderful people in the world, the citizens of the Czech Republic. And they welcomed us so dearly. I came back 5 years later. I'm sorry I missed the last one. I'm here today with my 2 sons, Bradley and Fremont. It's truly a thrill for us. And again, I can't emphasize the love, the compassion, and the concern, and the great admiration that we have between our countries and the people.
Thanks for sharing with us.
This is our original 303rd Infantry Guidon. It's probably close to 70 years old now, but that's the original flag of our company, Company M, Heavy Weapons Company, 303rd Infantry. Thank you.